Welcome back to what is going to be a delineation episode. My name is Cam White, if you don't know me already. In this episode, I'm going to be very passionate about what I talk about. And of course, as the title says, this is probably going to be pretty controversial. And so let me open up with saying, I'm not here to really change anybody's mind. However, what I'd like you to do in this episode is step into someone else's shoes and try to take in a different perspective on things. I'm going to explain why I'm making this episode in just a second, but I want to start off with a clip that I just saw on Instagram. If you are just listening, this is a clip of George Carlin. I don't know when this was taken.
A very liberating position for myself as an artist, and that was I sort of gave up on the human race and gave up on the American dream and culture and nation and decided that I didn't care about the outcome. And that gave me a lot of freedom from a kind of distant platform to be sort of amused, to watch the whole thing with a combination of wonder and pity and try to put that into words.
Not caring about the outcome. What do you mean by that?
Not having an emotional stake in whether this experiment with human beings works. I really don't care. I love people as I meet them one by one. People are just wonderful as individuals. You see the whole universe in their eyes if you look carefully. But as soon as they begin to group, as soon as they begin to clot, when there are 5 of them or 10, or even groups as small as 2, they begin to change. They sacrifice the beauty of the individual for the sake of the group. I decided it was all under the control of groups.
I can stop it right there. The beauty of the individual goes away when the group gets involved. I talked about in my last weekly astrology report how I'm not upset at people who have Aquarius placements. Where I become a little bit more negative about the zodiac sign Aquarius is if we just look around and take a pulse on the current conditions of what is going on in the world. Now that we have Pluto in Aquarius, now that we have been done with the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in Aquarius that has set off a whole new 200-year triplicity shift of the Jupiter-Saturn conjunctions now happening into air signs. We just got done with Saturn transiting Aquarius. And over the past few years, we have seen what a collective can do. And why I wanted to open up with that is this is my general philosophy. And it's not that I hate the zodiac sign Aquarius. It's that when you take the collective in the group, you undermine the individual, which is the axis of Leo and Aquarius. I like individual people. And I've said a lot before on my channel before. I don't like labels. I don't like terms. I don't like collective identities. I like using terms that describe me and not describing myself with a group of people. So the reason I'm doing this episode is in my last weekly report, I made comments about what I'm going to call the inoculation. The reason I have to censor myself is because we live in a time where my ability to make money for myself is jeopardized by my ability to say what it is that I want. Which is funny because we have this thing called the Constitution and free speech, and a lot of people argue, well, it's a private company, Cameron, why don't you get off of it? Well, when free speech terms are also mandated by the government, things like YouTube, Facebook, Google, were influenced by the government to censor speech. It's kind of hard to deny that. Was that really actually a private platform's full conducting, or was it actually the government interference? Either way, I made a comment about the inoculations. That comment was, when we had the Mars-Pluto conjunction in Aquarius, we saw I saw a tweet that was talking about the French government is now proposing, I think it was possibly up to 2 years in jail and something around like $250,000 fine for criticizing the mRNA technology. And the reason I brought that up is because that Mars-Pluto conjunction was at 0 Aquarius. And in one of my predictions, I said something around the inoculation might possibly come up. Why do I say that? End of March of 2020, the Mars-Saturn conjunction at 0 Aquarius. This was right when Saturn ingressed into Aquarius, and we had a Mars-Saturn conjunction at 0 Aquarius. This was when the whole entire world went into a lockdown. They locked down the world. If you don't remember how severe it was, then what happened? We roll around to December 19th of 2020, or maybe it was the 21st. I always get those dates mixed up. And we had what they called the Great Conjunction, which was the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. Where was that at? That was at 0 degrees Aquarius. Now, what happened on that day? That was the day the FDA authorized the emergency use authorization of the said inoculation. Now, why is that important? That is because that Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, like I said previously, was the start of Jupiter-Saturn conjunctions in air signs for the next 200 years. And my brain went, wow, that's going to be a little bit more important as time goes on. Why, we look back and I feel as if the energy around the inoculation has completely died off, as if, it wasn't all that big of a deal. And I see that in the comments that I got on my last weekly, and this is why I'm making this video. I will, if you want to attack me for not being the best astrologer or disagreeing with my ideas, fine. But I won't tolerate an attack on my intelligence. And some of the comments I got, and this is, by the way, I've gotten them for years now at this point because of my stance on this that I proudly represent because, let's see, we were right. When I say we, I mean people that saw through this, that thing did not come from a bat. It was manufactured in a lab. We saw that the lockdowns didn't work. They caused more devastation and more harm and more deaths than they prevented. We saw that masks also didn't work. A lot of people still don't believe that, which is interesting because, again, the particle size of COVID is so small that it goes through even N91 masks. 3 or 4 now. Where were we at? 3 or 4? I can't remember. You were told if you got this inoculation, you would not get COVID and you would prevent it from spreading to other people. And how dare you, jeopardize other people's risk for your own safety. We have found out that is all a lie. And people are pretending as if that didn't happen. And people are pretending as if it wasn't forced. In October of 2021, again, I started this episode with saying, put yourself in my shoes and just give me some empathy here. Understand me. In October of 2021, I believe the reason why this happened in this month was this was the last month of which nurses had to get their inoculations in order to keep their job. That whole month I was booked out with nothing but nurses. These women were crying to me, saying, Cameron, I've built my whole career on this. I've been a nurse my whole life. I love it. I love taking care of people. But I'm at risk of losing my job because I don't want this inoculation. I don't believe in it. I don't trust it. I see people that come in with bad side effects. I don't want to do it. COVID wasn't that big of a deal. I got it and I'm fine. And when you deal with 60 of those people, these are women, again, these are the frontline workers of this, of what was the pandemic, coming in and saying that they're about to lose everything because of this. And you're going to sit here and tell me it wasn't forced? You're going to sit here and tell me personally, I wasn't allowed on a plane. I wasn't allowed at a fucking restaurant. I wasn't allowed to go to a movie theater. And I was so blessed by God that I had every single means under my own control, meaning I controlled my income. I controlled where it came from. And thank God I was just as independent as possible. Because if I was still DJing weddings at the time all this happened, I would have been forced to get it in order to keep my job and to keep feeding myself. And so I'm going to bring up the comments that say this because I just say, how dare you say it wasn't forced? Talk to the police officers, the firefighters, the nurses, the airline pilots. Talk to anybody with a job and tell me it wasn't forced. That to me is why I said in my last weeklies that 2020 and 2021 were very different for a certain group of people. 2020 affected everybody. 2021 affected half of the population. Regardless if you believe that the inoculations are safe and effective, regardless if you think COVID was going to kill you, even though it wasn't. What was it, like 99.2% chance of survival? Regardless of what you believe, as a human being, you should be able to have empathy with people saying, I don't want to administer a drug to myself. A lot of people agree with what's going on in Canada, where if someone is dying of a terminal disease, they should be allowed to kill themselves. Right? I don't know where I stand with that. I find that to be very interesting legal ground. But if you can empathize with the people that want to kill themselves so they don't have to go through a disease, why can't you empathize with the people that don't want the inoculation? And I think I know why. And it's because we were told if you got this, you would not get COVID and that you wouldn't spread it to other people. But we have found out that is a lie. And the backpedaling, the absolute cognitive dissonance people have over that event is mind-blowing to me. We were told the reason it was mandated, not was because, hey, it's going to, actually be a little bit more safe and effective, and you actually, if you're still going to get COVID anyway, and it may not be as bad. That's not what happened. We were told if you don't get it, you're a Nazi, and that you don't care about the lives of other people. And so the government used that idea to justify its illegal mandate that was overturned by the Supreme Court. I'm very passionate about this because, number one, for most normal people, I am okay with their cognitive dissonance over what happened during COVID. But in the astrology world, our job as astrologers, and I would hope that you take this on too, as someone who I would consider, if you're watching this, I can pretty much consider you an astrologer, that we use a tool to understand the current conditions of what time is by looking at what the past looks like with these same conditions and being able to use that information to project what the future looks like. We have a tool, an explicit tool to understand the current conditions of our reality. And there's a lot of astrologers that are refusing to use this tool to see what is going on in this moment. You want to call me an anti-vaxxer? That's your choice. That's your label. You want to call me a right-wing conspiracy theorist? That's your choice. That's your label. I refuse these labels. And again, why I'm making this video is call me whatever you want, but I'm so sick of people like me having their intelligences assaulted because we decided that we had our best interests in our bodies and not the government. Which, by the way, again, too, can we name other examples of when the government had their interests in your body and not yours? Well, if you're really left-wing, we could talk about Roe v. Wade being overturned. We could talk about doctors in the government injecting syphilis into black people without them telling anything about it. We could talk about Purdue Pharma. Sure, it's not the government, but it's still big pharma causing the opioid crisis, which is a reason why we even have the fentanyl crisis we have today. But that's besides the point. I want to read some of these comments to you guys. Now, I'm doing my best. The reason I don't respond to a lot of comments, the reason I'm not on Twitter anymore is, and this is just basic psychology, we hold on to the negative things more than we hold on to the positive. And I get flooded with positive comments. I absolutely love them. But for whatever reason, my mind gets fixated on the negative comments. And so over the years, I've done better and better as to not engage with that. But the reason I'm making this video is I want us as a society, as a group of people, to be able to cohesively come together in disagreement. What I see here is so much politicization of certain beliefs and weaponization of those beliefs that segregate us, which is, again, what the people in control, want. So we're just going to go in order here. I didn't have time to organize this, but let's look at this first comment. Whoa. Oh, here we go. This first comment right here, hour ago. Every time I try to give you a go, you start with anti-vax and conspiracy stuff again. What is anti-vax about saying in March of 2021, I think it was Norway and Sweden did a study that said 18 to 25-year-old males were at risk of myocarditis. from getting the COVID-19 vaccine. At that time, that was my age group. And I didn't want to risk my heart. What is anti-vax about having multiple clients come to me who were pro-vax that have been injured by the vaccine? What is anti-vax about that? Is it anti-vax to claim your victim status and that you were literally victimized? I was victimized. I was attacked by my peers. I was segregated from society. I wasn't allowed to operate in a free world because I wanted to choose what I put in my body, and there wasn't enough science for me to feel comfortable about it. That's anti-vax? Don't watch me. Fine. Let's go to this next one. Whoa, you're an anti-vax? Again, these are PSYOP terms. Anti-vax is a label that people put as a blanket statement to completely whitewash people's fears and considerations. It's the same thing. This is something that gets really, what I get really annoyed about in political discussions is, oh, those are right-wing talking points. As if they don't have a point. It doesn't matter which side you agree on. You have to understand the opposite side of what you believe has a point. That's the whole point of their argument. And when you take that other person's point and you just say, it doesn't exist, it doesn't matter because it comes from this idea, it's a logical fallacy. It lacks critical thinking skills. And I hope you guys can do better than that. So, whoa, you're an anti-vax. Whoever said that? Over the years, I've become more critical of vaccines. However, is that my fault? Is that my fault? So let's watch this. This just came out. I just took a shower and I listened to this in a shower and I was like, what perfect timing. Listen to this with me.
Trust the science? Well, it sure seems like the science can't always be trusted. A new terrifying report from The Guardian indicates that research credibility is at an all-time low as a rash of fake papers made their way into the academy, into prestigious journals of medicine and other categories of science. According to The Guardian, tens of thousands of bogus research papers being published in journals in an international scandal is worsening every year. Scientists have warned medical research is being compromised, drug development hindered, and promising academic research jeopardized thanks to a global wave of sham science that is sweeping laboratories and universities. The concerns over the veracity of scientific inquiry come as a new study indicates that some concerns about vaccine-related injury may not have been all that far-fetched. Fox News, the largest COVID vaccine study to date by the Global Vaccine Data Network in New Zealand, analyzed 99 million people.
99 million people
Received COVID vaccinations across 8 countries.
The study, which was published in the journal Vaccine last week, found that the vaccine was linked to a slight increase in neurological, blood, and heart-related medical conditions, according to a press release from GVDN. And I read this study. It said that their what is it? It's not biases. It's conflicts of interest. Was they were funded by the government and by Pfizer. So these are scientists funded by Pfizer saying, yeah, it can actually cause some problems. This is my favorite comment, though. Let's look at this first top comment. A new study shows that 100% of scientists agree with whoever is funding them. If you are anyone in the science world, you understand how true that statement is. Is it my fault for being skeptical of medications when over the years, and again, I was not an expert in this stuff. I'm not even an expert now. I'm not saying that whatsoever. But I've learned enough to be able to see what's bullshit and what's not. And the reason I get passionate about this too is if you've ever had anyone die of cancer, you can relate to this. When my dad was diagnosed, I didn't have access to his doctor. I didn't have access, and he didn't know what was going on. He just got diagnosed. He was in a lot of fear. I did so much research trying to understand what the fuck cancer was. How did it come about? How did my dad get it? And I watched hours on hours of these, I think it was UCLA lectures that only had like a couple hundred views on YouTube. And I watched so much about it to try to understand it. And at the end of the day, what essentially is tumors are pretty much fed off glucose. They don't really work that well off mitochondria. And if you eat more glucose, your tumors will get big. In fact, how they actually find tumors in your body is They make you fast for 24 hours. You get to the hospital. They inject you with essentially what is sugar that kind of like glows in the dark. They take an x-ray of your body, and that glow in the dark sugar goes straight to your tumors, and they find them. Okay, what's wrong with that? How they treat cancer, for my dad's cancer, he had throat cancer. He had radiation blasted on his throat. And if you've never seen someone go through radiation and chemotherapy, I've already decided this. If I ever get diagnosed with cancer, I'd rather either eat a bullet or live through it. Because to see someone physically change in a way that not cancer treatment does to people is criminal. They blast you with radiation. Oh, by the way, that's like $20,000. And then they give you chemotherapy, which started from World War I, mustard gas, essentially. And what does that chemo do? We inject it into your veins, and we pray to God it destroys the shit out of that cancer before it kills you. And it eats you alive. So when my dad was getting his throat blasted, he lost his ability to eat. One of my biggest regrets is I did not go see my dad the last chance I got to go see him. And it eats me alive every day. But I was blessed enough to have his last meal with him. And I won't forget it. But he had to get a feeding tube put in him. What did he eat if he had a feeding tube? He had these sugar drinks that the hospital gave him, full of chocolate and sugar. So they know tumors are fed off glucose. Then they feed you glucose while they give you $100,000 slow way to die. After that, I went, whoa. What is going on in Big Pharma? But when we watch that video of more and more people are skeptical over science, studies, because again, how do these studies get out? They cost money, right? Well, they're funded by either corporations or agencies that essentially will pay these scientists to, again, get the result that they're essentially wanting or as close as they can get to it. And there's a lot of studies that don't get published because they go against a narrative. Is it my fault for not trusting the science when the science has a lot of, what's the word here? Easily attackable problems. And this is where I got to find this next comment, but let's talk about scientism. Someone mentioned, I'll have to find the comment, but someone mentioned, oh, Cameron, you're wrong about this stuff. And it's like people with religion. We're going to be comparing my criticism of certain things with this dogma of religion. Why don't we criticize scientism in this idea, which, by the way, science said that cigarettes were good for you. Science said the sun revolved around the earth. Science said seed oils were good for you. Do you know how many times science was wrong about something? It said that masks were effective. It said that it came from a fucking bat. It said that lockdowns work. And it said that stupid inoculation was not going to spread it. And lo and behold, y'all motherfuckers that got inoculations got COVID. This idea that someone criticizing or being skeptical about ideas and calling it a dogma and comparing it to the dogmatic parts of religion where you're blind to anything else is so asinine. It's just disrespectful, especially coming from what I would consider scientism, which is this full belief in the material world, which again, we're all doing astrology here. If you're really in a materialist mindset, this is where it gets spiritual. How can you believe in astrology and only believe in the material? How can you believe? A lot of you watch tarot card readers, a lot of you watch psychics, a lot of you getting all to the woo-woo crazy stuff, and you're going to be materialists? It's hypocritical. I want to go over some more of these comments. And I'm passionate about this because I have harbored an amazing community of people just like me who want to get more into the astrology. But the problem is every other astrologer, I think there's about 4 or 5 good ones that aren't spouting this shit, are saying, you're an anti-vaxxer right-wing conspiracy theorist. Get out of here. We don't like you. And I was attacked by my community for my views and my beliefs. I lost, again, I was very cool in the astrology community. I'm not anymore, which another reason I'm making this is the astrology community is one of the most fucking discriminatory and racist communities I've ever met. I've ever been a part of. I'm in like gun groups, like people that are into shooting guns and tactical gear and prepping. They're some of the most fucking nicest people I've ever met. And they will not discriminate you based on your race. They might make fun of you for it, but they won't discriminate you. I've been discriminated against because of my race. Now, if you don't want to call that racism because it's white racism doesn't exist, live in your ideological bubble. But I have been discriminated by my race in multiple settings in the astrology community. So let's go over a few of these. And again, so many of these comments are good. But everyone that's bad is this attack on my intelligence. Is it this one? No. Although this was a really good comment. Let's see. Give me a second here. Oh, I've never seen this one. I got really gypped over. What the fuck? Gypsy slander, degradation, hate speech is not acceptable. Gypped over is a... I did not know that that was connected to gypsy slander. I didn't know that. That's just news to me. Also, there's a lot of women out there that drive trucks, which I find very funny. And again, here's a great comment. Cam, one of the reasons that I follow you is that I support you is because you stand up for what is right. As a libertarian, I follow you and you're candid for speaking the truth and seeking the truth. I did not vaccinate, but I felt bullied just for making my own decisions. My partner and I, at 15 years, were fearful of our ability to make our own decisions. Hold on. For the people that are listening and are becoming impatient, I'm sorry. Pfizer themselves said after a year that they knew, according to their test, their vaccine did not prevent any transmission at all, ever. Yeah, I know. Here we go. Astro brain farts. Now, again, if you're watching this and I'm reading your comment, I'm not attacking you personally. I'm responding. Because I also don't have the energy to respond to each comment. I figured I'd make a video. The fact that you can't criticize mRNA is no longer the problem of the unvaccinated. We will not be harmed by it unless you have... Oh, my bad. This is actually someone on our side. You need to stop saying that. Hold on. Here we go. Kappa. COVID vaccines had a huge positive impact. They helped curb mortality and transmission rates. To say otherwise is to promote conspiracy theories. My response to that is, they also promoted eating donuts to people to get vaccinated. When we know that America had the highest death rate of COVID-19 because of comorbidities like diabetes. But heaven forbid you call out people for being overweight and fat, something I struggled with my whole life. And a big reason because of COVID was that I took my health a lot more seriously. At the end of the pandemic in 2020, I was pre-diabetic. And that's why I've talked a lot about eating meat, being carnivore. That's completely changed my health in my fucking life. I'm so grateful I discovered that. But to say, oh, it helped curb mortality and transmission rates. How did it stop transmission rates? There's another comment in here that said that virus, because this is how viruses work. This is virology 101, either become more deadly and less transmissible, or more transmissible and less deadly, or more deadly and less transmissible. Every virologist knew from the beginning that's how this was going to turn into. It was going to slowly go away over time, and now it is just a cold or a flu. I think everyone is now like, if they get sick, they just say it's COVID. And you can go into the PCR tests and how they're really bad indicators of like whether or not you have COVID. But here's the thing. I'm okay with this statement. COVID vaccines had a huge positive impact. Okay, statement. They helped curb mortality and transmission rates. Okay, believe that. To say otherwise is to promote conspiracy theories. To say that it came from a bad as a conspiracy theory, because it didn't. And also we knew that in January of 2020 when Anthony Fauci sent out an email to, I think it was the NIH, saying, oh yeah, this actually looks like it came from the lab. The Farron cleavage site was broken into, essentially, but don't say that. So it's a conspiracy theory to say it came from a lab, or it came from the bat and lab. It's a conspiracy theory to say that the lockdowns work. They didn't. But we were told to lock down for your safety. 2 weeks. Just 2 weeks. To say otherwise is to promote conspiracy theories is a CIA psyop. The term conspiracy theory comes from the CIA to, again, completely throw away anyone's criticisms of any event ever. Because you say it's a conspiracy theory. I would ask you to really think about why and how you're using that term. Something I think a lot about with social media, and I see this with a lot of people, are your beliefs, do you actually believe that? Or have you heard it so many times that you have subscribed to it and it has become your belief? It is not to promote conspiracy theories. Vaccines also killed people. They also gave people myocarditis. I know people that have it. I have a lot of clients that are vaccine injured. And the reason being is I'm one of the only astrologers that are openly talking about it. So they feel safe and comfortable with me, unlike their doctor, who I even know. I even have clients who their doctors won't even say that it was from the vaccine, but they're kind of like, where else did it come from? So I can't stand this idea of, oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist. Because again, CIA invented that term so that no skepticism could be had of anything ever. Even though if you look back throughout history, governments lie, corporations lie. Who has the incentive here to lie? The corporations and the government, or me? All I can do is speak of my experience and my truth. But I don't like this. To say otherwise is to promote communities. No, to say otherwise is to have a different viewpoint. Sure, you could say COVID vaccines had a huge positive impact. Maybe. We're now seeing that the elderly people that were more at risk of dying of COVID-19 are dying in even higher rates post-vaccination. I just remember that off the top of my head. I read that article, I think it was like a month or two ago. I don't have the time to find it at the moment. Because again, the other part about trying to debate any of this stuff is Google anything bad about the vaccine and you will find nothing. You will not find anything. So I don't like this to say otherwise to promote conspiracy theories. I wish I remember I watched a video about different logical fallacies, and I know that is one, but I can't remember what it is. So my question to you is, do you actually believe that, or is that what you were told that you believe? As well as, is it a conspiracy to theories to say that COVID-19, that the inoculations, which by the way, I guess for YouTube, I have to say they're safe and effective. Is it a conspiracy to say that they caused myocarditis? Is it a conspiracy to say that lifespan is now shorter than ever? Is it a conspiracy to theory to say that all-cause mortality in every Western country that mandated the vaccines are now have higher all-cause mortality rates since 2021, not in 2020? Like I think it was like all-cause mortality was like pretty much the same in 2020 than 2021. Didn't get introduced. All-cause mortality goes up in all the Western countries that mandated it, but all of the other countries that didn't mandate, all-cause mortality is the same. Is that a conspiracy theory? See, something can be quote-unquote good and have a positive impact while also being bad. Remember, the other issue with all of this is in 1972, I think, maybe 1973, there was a swine flu outbreak. And I can't remember what company put out a swine flu vaccine. I believe it was 8 people died from that vaccine and they pulled it. Do you know how many people died of the vaccine? We can't actually know because in the study that Pfizer did, and again, if you don't believe me, do your own research on this. I wish I could show you this, but again, I find it very difficult myself to look for all of this stuff. You have to really go through the weeds, but I don't come up with this bullshit on my own. I listen to doctors. I listen to scientists. Anyone that says like, oh, you're listening to conspiracy theories is like, as if like we're not getting this information from genuine sources. Fuck, I forgot I was going to say there. Anyway, I'm sure it'll come back to me, but let's keep going. I like this comment. I'll read it just for the sake of what we're talking about. There's a podcast I listened to about an old TV show. In one episode, the character is given an injection against their will. All of their hosts on this podcast freaked out and thought that was the most awful thing. But in a previous episode, they all freaked out about people not getting the vaccine. I don't know why there's a disconnect, but there is. When I got my last COVID booster in December of 2022. Okay, so it's literally someone who's gotten the vaccine who's boosted, by the way. Like, it's people that are quote unquote that you want to use the term anti-vax for. A lot of them have it. How anti-vax can they be? When I got my last COVID booster in December of 2022, I asked the doctor, how long is this good for? They stammered and said, we don't know. It says experimental right on the vial. That made up my mind to stop getting them. And separately, I read somewhere that a few European countries, okay, let's talk about more. Interesting. That's funny. Here we go. Here's the comment I want to dive into. T time 009. I like listening to you for astrology, but you lack respect for proper epistemology, and you listen to people who you agree with. This is the one that pissed me off, because this is an attack on my intelligence. This is the one that says nothing you say can be any good because it goes against what I believe. Respect for epistemology. I have plenty of respect for science. I don't have respect for corruption. I have respect for the discipline of science. But science, as is what it is today, is no bueno. It's no good. It's junk. I mean, look at my favorite example of this is epidemiological studies that talk about a diet. And how all of the studies that are done essentially about like why meat is bad for you is because it's questionnaires and they're pretty much surveys of saying, hey, how many times have you ate, bacon in the past week and over the past year? And what they do is they associate things like pizza with meat. Like meat is just this, it's like everything bad is just struggled up, put together with meat. People don't remember what they fucking ate over the whole course of the year or how much of something. And these are the studies. This is epidemiological. This is fucking science, by the way. Epidemiological studies are everywhere and people love them. When you actually understand how an epidemiological study works, it is the worst. It is not science. It is a fucking guess. So anyway, I like listening to you for astrology, but you lack respect for proper epistemology and you listen to people you agree with. I listen to a lot of people I disagree with. That assumption is completely wrong. I know what they say. They're objectively wrong and debunked, and you clearly don't consider what you don't already agree with. What have I not considered? What is there to not consider? You were told that the vaccine was going to stop you from getting it and spreading it, and that was a lie. It went from 95% effective to 90 to 80 to then we have to get herd immunity. That was a lie. Fauci admitted it. Where do I not have the respect? Where's the respect for me as sovereign citizen? Actually, let me take that word back. If you don't know about sovereign citizens, it's the most cringy thing ever. But where's the respect for me as an individual living in America to be told the fucking truth? I do consider what I don't already agree with. This is why I don't like the labels. I don't call myself right-wing. I don't call myself libertarian. I don't call myself an anti-vaxxer or a conspiracy theorist. I don't call myself any of those things. I'm a fucking individual. When you act like you've been proven right on the vax stuff, are you right? Where's the evidence it stopped the spread? Where's the evidence that it's safe and effective for people like me? I'm more at risk of getting myocarditis. Again, a lifelong thing, scarring of the heart doesn't go away. I don't want that. I completely changed my health and my diet because I didn't want to be one of those fat people that died of COVID. And if you're fat and you take offense to that, sorry, but not sorry. I was overweight. I was pre-diabetic. And I took my own fucking health in my own hands. And I said, fuck that. I'm not going to be one of these fat people that die of fucking flu. See, this is the shit that's just like, okay, listen to my astrology or don't. I don't give a fuck. But don't you dare insult my intelligence on how I come up with conclusions. As if, oh, I just know exactly, because I've done all the research and I understand everything. If you've done all the research, you probably understand this actually isn't maybe the best thing ever. It actually didn't deliver on all the promises that you were told, that you were mandated to take. So you're just listening to presentations by people that cannot think. Oh, of course, all of the doctors and scientists and cardiologists that I listen to can't think. They're all retarded. They're all fucking retarded. Yeah, I just listen to fucking people in their basement that say this shit. I don't listen to doctors. Why would I do that? You don't think I fucking listen to doctors and scientists about this? Like, that type of bullshit there? Like, get over your own fucking ego. Like, the people that are on this side, like, y'all need to shut the fuck up. Like, people that disagree with you have a fucking point. And it's these people, by the way, that said, people like me, and I'm not saying that this person did it, but this type of person that communicates like this is very similar to the people that said, people like me who didn't want to get vaccinated, I didn't deserve the fucking right to go to the hospital. I didn't deserve healthcare. I didn't deserve a job. Fucking fascist. So to just say like, oh, I know everything and you don't listen to actual people, you don't fucking know what I listen to, motherfucker. Don't ever present another side unless it's a straw man they light a match to. What's the argument against, again, all-cause mortality being risen? Myocarditis jumping through the roof. And a lot of people are like, oh, it was also started by COVID. Myocarditis, like if you look at the graphs, myocarditis has a little bit of bump during COVID-19 and then 2021, boom, it goes to the roof. Something, if you haven't listened to this already, I doubt a lot of you have. I want you to listen to the Lex Friedman interview with Jeff Bezos. It is a really good interview. And Jeff Bezos said something that I've been stuck on since I've heard it. And he's talking about them doing research into Amazon's quality control or customer service. And he said, when the data doesn't line up with the anecdote, 99% of the time, the anecdote is correct. And it's because the data is not measuring the right thing. And if you want to say, well, that's not science or blah, 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 I think it comes from a lot from someone that, you know, has got what, like $200 billion net worth. He fucking owns the world at this point. For someone that powerful and to get to that position, to say that, to say, yeah, it's probably the data that's bad and not the anecdotal evidence. I think that's really interesting because, again, we've been told we were safe and effective, yet I get a lot of clients that have been, again, proven vaccine injured. In fact, we're going to keep reading the comments here and we're going to find someone that was a part of a study about their injury. So, don't ever present another side unless it's a straw man they light a match to. Bullshit. I listen to both sides. I can think for myself. I don't know why this is such a blind spot for you. It's like religious people in the way that they have a belief and feeling first, and then nothing in the world can ever compete with or overturn their feeling. They just know. I'm sorry, but when it comes to science, you don't just know, and that is irresponsible. What a fucking derogatory comment. Number one, you're watching astrology. Where's the fucking science behind that? Because you're clearly watching and consuming content about something there's no fucking evidence for, but you have a feeling there's for. So that's the most fucking hypocritical thing I've ever fucking heard. So don't even come to me about respecting science when you're fucking, especially from this perspective, when you're watching astrology content. Let's remember why we're all here. Because again, while you might think I'm a right-wing conspiracy theorist, you are the conspiracy theorist to a lot of other people because you're into astrology. But this idea, I had this feeling first. Yeah, my first initial feeling in 2020 was, I think I was watching CNN and some guy came on and he was like this is like May of 2020. He was like, yeah, this isn't going away until there's a vaccine. And I went, yeah, wow, that's probably what's going to happen. And I didn't think much about it. And then my idea was, I'm probably not going to get it because I'm like looking over at COVID, like I'm not too worried about it. I will take the risk. Like it doesn't seem that bad. I ended up getting COVID in 2021 and I lost my taste and my smell, which was just like COVID wasn't that bad, but losing taste and smell was a very disturbing experience. But It wasn't until March of 2021 when I saw a study that was done in like Northern Europe that said, yeah, males, and I'm going to trust European science over the shit than American science. Again, look at how healthy they are versus how healthy we are. Look at how, again, they have free healthcare. We don't. It's just, I'm going to trust their sources more. And they said, yeah, men 18 to 24 are more likely to get myocarditis. And I was at that age group at that time. And I said, no, like heart, I'm going to affect my heart, which is going to last forever. I'm already a white male. My biggest risk factor is heart disease and heart attack. Why would I put any more risk at that? So I didn't. And then as time goes on and I had that, opinion, I was like, oh, I'm not going to take it for myself. This is March 2021, by the way. This is just at the beginning where it was, you're not going to take the vaccine. You're a fascist. You're not going to take the vaccine. You don't care about it. It was just the beginning of that. Then as the summer went on and I saw how many people attacked me for that, I went like, well, now I really don't want to fucking do this shit because fuck you guys. Like, I just like want to protect my health and I'm not going to risk my heart for something that like I got and I lived through. I have the antibodies for. And again, they even told you natural immunity wasn't real. So I'm sorry, but when it comes to science, you don't just know, and that is irresponsible. Well, look at the fucking science that we do know. It does cause myocarditis. It does. Again, here, just like the thing that we just saw, COVID shot, long COVID linked to heart and brain damage. There's even stuff about long COVID here, which I thought was actually really interesting that those both were connected. Another thing people don't like, another thing people like you don't realize is this. This is going to blow your mind and you don't get it because there is a Dunning-Kruger effect going on, not an insult, just a fact. Here's the thing you won't get. Did you know that even if it was to be discovered that the earth was flat earthers would still be wrong? Yeah, even if we discovered that the vaccine had negative side effects, people like you will still say it was safe and effective. You're like, this just seems like projection. That's all this seems like to me. And again, how many, like, do you tell this to your friends and family members that have similar beliefs to me? That they all must be like listening to nut jobs and don't actually do their own research for things? By the way, I haven't gotten sick since my last time I had COVID. Everyone I knew that's gotten the vaccine has gotten sick multiple times. And that's fucking shitty. But no one wants to talk about that. To someone like you, that's a confusing point. Again, it's insulting my intelligence. How fucking dare you? Like, not to toot my own horn here, but like, I know a lot of fucking shit. I know more shit about fucking history, economics, politics, legislation, anthropology than you fucking do. So to insult my intelligence because I don't listen to the bearers of truth, the authoritarian regime that gives you the truth on a silver platter and says this is the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, and everything else is a lie and a conspiracy theory, which, by the way, we made up that term ourselves so you don't question anything. This insult in my intelligence, and I'm almost speaking for everyone else that goes through this, is sickening. People have different points of view than you and have different experiences, and they are also valid and true. The vaccine didn't work. And when I say it didn't work, what do I mean by that? I mean, it was literally put into law that government workers were forced to take it because it was going to stop transmission. And it didn't. It didn't. It didn't fucking work. It didn't work. A trained person, an authority figure, as if people can't think for them fucking selves, could give more than one reason why this is true. There's actually more than one. If you cannot answer how that would be true, you do not know how to think. You demonstrate this all the time. Again, this is not an insult, but it's unpleasant. It is an insult. Infantilizing me and treating me like a child as if I can't understand these complex things is a fucking insult. Especially, again, the reason I'm so amped up about this is people wanted to take my rights away. People in Australia, where it was like forced, they put them in prison camps. They wanted to take my rights away. You think this is a joke? Wait till they come for you. It's only a matter of time until you find yourself on the other side of a popular narrative and then you get attacked. And I pray it doesn't happen to you, but it's only a matter of time because you let these kind of narratives win. I do find it insulting, and it is an insult. And stop trying to pretend that it's not. Your astrology is good because of technique. Okay, I appreciate that compliment. Whenever you inject your own stuff in it is when it derails. The cognitive dissonance. What do you think my technique is? It is my own stuff. You know, every other astrologer is not saying that there's fucking war going on. They're just now coming online. I've been saying it since 2021. Look around. No astrologer will actually even fucking say that, oh, the inoculations weren't good. Maybe they're starting to get to it, but a lot of them are afraid. What makes me a good astrologer is because I put my shit into it. That's why you watch my videos. To say that I'm only a good astrologer, but when I put my own stuff into it, is to say I'm not a good astrologer. And you like the technique. And again, I'm using this technique when I say, again, Mars-Saturn conjunction, that was the lockdowns. Jupiter-Saturn, that was the EUA. Then we get Pluto in Aquarius. Let's do a real cold read of what Pluto in Aquarius might mean. Pluto is death, and Aquarius is his people. What might that signify? A lot of death of people? Maybe. Am I wrong for thinking the Mars-Pluto conjunction at the same degree that the lockdowns were at and that the EUA was at might be something negative against it? Because that's my technique. That's traditional techniques right there. But because I'm seeing something different, and by the way, it wasn't as severe as I thought, which is something that I'm working on because this is just a part of astrology. It's like you see something and you think it's going to be a lot worse than it actually is. But something did come up. That's why I said in this video, yeah, France said if you even question mRNA stuff, you can go to jail. If it's that effective, why can you be imprisoned for questioning it? If it's that fucking effective. Think about that. God. So just this shit is just so insulting. And yes, the 3 outer planets are all returning to spots where a major war broke out last time. That's the astrology. That's not Cam White. Is it? Because there's a lot of astrologers that aren't talking about it. They want to think that, oh, if we just keep funding Ukraine and, you know, we keep funding Israel and we keep attacking all the, Hezbollah and all these other things, that nothing's going to happen. It's both. An astrologer can look at a birth chart and get everything wrong, and an astrologer can look at a birth chart and get everything right. It is the person that's reading it. It is. And just coming back to this, what'd you say, Dunning-Kruger effect? Yeah. The problem with flat earthers too is, again, like I'm on the side of flat earthers are retarded. The earth is not flat. And again, that was a discovery made by astrologers too. Just like also this earth revolves around the sun. That was a discovery made by astrologers. People are going to believe whatever they believe. I totally agree with that. That's why I opened up this video with, I'm not going to change your mind here. Maybe I did. That'd be mind blowing. I asked to come from a space of empathy. Because again, this type of shit, to act like I don't fucking know better, or that I didn't do my diligent research, or that I didn't come to my own conclusions through my own way by looking at both sides of the story, is insulting. I take that as an insult. So let's keep going. Here we go. Now, I want to shout out this woman. I loved this comment. Spider Queen 601. I'm a molecular biologist. I'm also 100% for free speech. mRNA is very safe, precise technology. The precision to only one tiny part of the virus is both why it's so safe and effective for reducing severity, but not so much for reducing the spread and required boosters. However, the mandates just increased fear, and I was against them, and the suppression of criticism is insane. Finally, someone who is that I see differently with can come to the same conclusion that I do. Like, all I brought up in that video was censoring this shit is really bad. It's really bad. It's fascist. It really is, regardless of how you think. I disagree. I don't think mRNA is very safe or very effective, especially because it was touted as something that was going to stop the spread. And you even said that it's not good for that. And there's no changing, our minds there, especially when you get into the spike protein and the fact that what the mRNA really does is turn your cells into a vaccine manufacturer. And this is why a lot of people have really high autoimmune diseases related to the vaccine because, again, their cells are overreacting to small particles. That's why, again, when people get COVID again after having the vaccine, the vaccine's reaction into your body, like when you first get it, was so intense. Like a lot of people got really sick after they got their injections. When the body gets introduced into COVID again, it has that same reaction, has that same severe reaction to it, rather than just being able to identify it and take care of it. So I don't agree, but that's fine. Like, but this woman has a fucking actual good take. Like, hey, like, mandates probably just increase fear. I totally agree with that. Like, again, when people say, oh, it didn't, like, you know, it was never mandated. There's a comment that says that. It was mandated. Like, someone's like, oh, if it was mandated, you would have had it. No, I was fucking lucky. And I isolated myself in 2021. I missed so much shit in 2021 I could have gone to, and I didn't. I couldn't. And suppression of criticism is insane. It is. So thank you, Spider Queen 601, for being someone who has a different point of view than me, and actually we can come to terms on an agreement with. Like, I'm not here to change your mind on what I think about it. But again, all I can say is, for me personally, as a, like, that age group of people that it was affected with myocarditis, I didn't want it. And there's a lot of other people I know that were injured by it. So let's see. There was one, though. There was one, though. I can't find it. That was like, oh, it wasn't mandated. What does this say? My big beef with people who call themselves purebloods is that they're the same people on a diet of Mountain Dew, Pop-Tarts, McDonald's, Marlboros, and Coors. American diet. Those are just some examples of really terrible food and beverage products to highlight the absolute cognitive dissonance of people against the injections. I'm not saying they're good or even useful. What I'm saying is that TPTB are already killing you off. TPTB. Too many acronyms. I don't know what that means. Killing you off, and you gladly shovel all of the poison crap in your mouth. I would agree, but there's also a lot of people that also drink Mountain Dew, eat Pop-Tarts, McDonald's, Marlboros, and Coors, who got the vaccine to think that they're healthy or that they're safe. So I don't necessarily disagree with it. I would just add on. Let's see. Here we go. I haven't had COVID yet, but I've had Addison's disease and nobody has given a crap. I live on disability that doesn't pay. I wish I knew what Addison's disease was, but that was kind of the other thing with COVID, was that it did kind of like there was, and again, well, I mean, people were saying that they were, what is it called? Not a comorbidity, but like a compromised immune system. I saw people that were like, I have ADHD. I have a compromised immune system. Like, there's legitimately people that struggle and suffer. Like I knew people I knew a few personal people that were still wearing masks for a long time, and it was because they had someone in their life that, like, literally was being treated for cancer, and so they kept wearing a mask. And it's like, hey, you're doing whatever you can to protect people. Like, even though, like, when I see people that still wear masks, my judgment still comes up immediately, but I always try to be like, again, like, I was at the DMV and I saw like a dad and a son, and they looked like kind of redneck, and they were wearing masks. And this is at a time when masks weren't going around, and I was like, oh, like, they're dumb. And then in my head I was like, I wonder if they have someone really fucking sick at home. And I wonder if they're just doing what they can, because again, it's not their job to fucking learn this stuff. And they're just doing what they can. Here we go. I appreciate your open mind on the V's, as I am injured from them. Thankfully, slowly getting better over the last couple of years. But I was in a study for a major hospital in Toronto for my health issues. Yeah. People were injured by this stuff. And to deny that, I think, is anti-scientific. I think it's it's sad. Damn it, I can't find that comment. Although I thought this comment was funny. Does genocide in Gaza appear in your stars? Yeah, someone said, I wish I could find it, but it was something along the lines of, oh yeah, here we go. I don't feel that we were forced to take the vaccine. Well, that's how you feel. I think we were heavily influenced, but there was no force involved, obviously, or else you would be vaccinated, right? Well, thank God that they didn't actually come door to door and, give me an injection, but they were about damn near close to it. They made it, and again, and it's because it's unconstitutional, it's illegal. But they made it really, really difficult. Again, also from public pressure. I mean, like, look at the feedback I got from my weekly video, just being like, yeah, they weren't that really safe or effective, and people are like, oh my God. So I know I got really upset and angry in this, but it's just one of those things where, like, look, if you want to disagree with me and maybe cringe at what I say, that's fine. If that's too much for you to watch me, I've already learned my lesson. I've lost a lot of friends over my views on things, and I'm just gonna be real with you guys. I need to be real to myself. There's a lot of people in the YouTube platform and even astrologers that are afraid to say how they actually feel about things because they're afraid of their audience. And I don't want to live like that. So if that means like I lose some audience because I have a different viewpoint, then so be it. I die with integrity. And maybe I'm fucking wrong. I don't think I'm wrong about anything I just ranted on, but like I kept it real with myself. And I'll keep it real with myself if things change. Now, if it's like, again, like in 10 years, it's like COVID people who got vaccinated live 10 years longer than people who don't, or something like that, then like, okay. But again, part of me is like, how much of the science are we trusting here? How much science is worth trusting? And I have a lot of doctor clients, guys, a lot of doctor clients. They all say it's no bueno. And so, I'm sure a lot of you have turned off by now because you were probably annoyed or sick of me, or you wanted to unsubscribe. That's fine. It is what it is. I consider every single one of the people that watch my show a friend. I do this from the bottom of my heart. I do this because I want to help people, because I want people to have better lives, and I think astrology is the best tool for it. And it's why I do it every time. And I think that's why I also get a lot of viewers that disagree with me. And it's one of my favorite parts about having a channel and being real is I have so many people that disagree with me on things, and I love it. What I won't stand, though, is an assault on my intelligence. You can be like, yo, I don't agree with that, but don't say that everything I listen to is wrong and that I'm like a religious person with dogma. Like, fuck you. Don't say that. Give me some fucking respect here. You're in my house. You're watching my fucking video. And I have a lot of clients. I have a lot of followers that disagree. And again, this is the beauty of the Leo Aquarius axis. There's the individual and there's the group. You put someone in a group of things. Like, again, let's say everyone here is, let's say we put everyone who's very pro-vaccine into a group. Ask them about Gaza and Palestine and Israel. Boy, is that group going to divide really quickly. I judge people based off individuals. That's what astrology's for, by the way. So what I don't like is when I get tossed into the mix of, oh, well, I'm an anti-vaxxer or I'm a right-winger or a conspiracy theorist. It's not true. It's not. What is true is that governments and corporations will lie to you, and they have, and they will continue to. And they just did with all of this. If you believe in the technology, that's great. It doesn't mean, though, that the government didn't lie about the transmissibility, that they didn't lie that lockdowns were effective, that they didn't lie that it came from a bat, from a wet market, down the street, from one of the most, like, what do they call it, like a level 4, like, little fucking virus engineering lab? Funny. I think the analogy I thought of when I thought of that first was like, that's like saying like there's a nuclear power plant next to a preschool, but the nuclear radiation's coming from the preschool because some preschoolers figured out how to, create nuclear fission. Like, what? What? So I just had to get that out. It gets a lot, when I get constantly attacked for that stuff. And again, if that's too much for you, I would say we could part ways as friends. I still want to help you. I still want to be your astrologer because I think I'm going to be better than fucking anyone else and give it to you real. But I won't stand for attacks on my intelligence. And I think I speak for a lot of people here when I say that, because if we want to stop being socially divided, if we want to come together on any terms, you can't attack my intelligence. You can't. Empathize with why I have those views. Can you empathize with that? That my age group was more at risk for myocarditis? That I just watched the medical industrial complex kill my father? That I took health into my own hands, lost weight, fixed my metabolism? I mean, fuck, I can't technically say I'm sober, but goddamn, I was smoking so much weed. I barely touch anything anymore. Can you empathize with me having a chip on my shoulder from half of the population saying that I don't deserve health care or rights? Can you empathize with that? Can you empathize with my discriminate skepticism of what authorities say when how much of what the authorities said over the past few years has been blatantly false? If you want to believe that COVID's less severe because of the vaccine, that's fine. But also is going to become less severe because it's virology 101. And you could say that the vaccines are safe and effective, but you can't deny that they also do cause injuries and that they weren't safe and effective for everyone. Can you empathize with where I come from there? Because I can empathize with people who got the vaccine and that still believe in it. I genuinely can. But that doesn't give you a right to insult my intelligence to think differently than you. So I don't even know if I'm going to post this. If I do, I was really feeling some type of way. But it's scary. It's really scary being real online. Because again, I could lose a lot of following. I can get flagged on YouTube. I think I've been flagged once for something. Get 2 more flags. There goes my income. And, I generally think I create a lot of value. I fucking love what I do and I want to keep doing it. I want to be the best at it. So it's scary having to be honest, but it's also hard for me to just sit silent. And maybe that's what gets me into trouble. But it's just hard to sit silent at attacks on my intelligence. Especially when people will sit here and say, oh, I'm smart in one way, but not in another. Oh, fuck you. I've yet to meet... I shouldn't say that. I wish I had more time and resources to go through every single study I've ever seen that shows negative effects of the vaccine, but I don't have that time or resources. Or even, like, again, with Google, it's just like you have to know what to Google and know where to look, and I can't do it, but I didn't make this shit up. I've listened to a lot of doctors and scientists, can't even begin to name a few. I mean, the people I think about the most is Brett and Heather Weinstein. I know a lot of people hate them for whatever reason, but they've been really correct about honestly everything. They've been correct about everything since the get-go. The only thing they were wrong about was that they were very pro-mask at first, and then they were like looking at the studies and the research. They're like, this actually doesn't make any fucking sense at all. So I think that's what I have to say for this one, guys. I don't like getting angry. I don't like getting mad like that. I'm just very passionate about this subject because, again, you didn't have a risk of your rights taken away. You gladly took it, and that's your choice. But you didn't have your rights threatened to be taken away because you didn't want to do it. It's a very different feeling when the government says, again, Biden even said, like, enjoy a cold, deadly winter for the unvaccinated. And I think there was a poll that was done that was like half of people think that people who refuse to get vaccinated should be denied health care. Real hard pill to swallow. And I find it very lacking empathy. And so I'll end with that. I hope you guys can understand and not just listen to the words I'm saying, but listen to my body language and my passion and maybe try to understand why I would be so passionate about this. Is it because I'm just angry? Is it because I'm just a right-wing conspiracy theorist? Or is it because I had a very real experience that people still deny ever happened? Imagine you got raped and you go to tell people, which, by the way, that's what happened to me and my sister as a kid. We were molested. We told our parents and they didn't believe us. Got a very big problem with being affected by something and no one listening. I have a very big problem with that. Maybe you don't, but that's me. I'm going to leave off with that, guys. Like I said, if you see this posted, I guess I decided to go crazy. So I love you guys. I'll see you next time.